Winds of Valen is an old school RuneScape inspired indie MMO that you can basically finish in a weekend, as long as you don't try to max everything. There is no cash shop, no battle pass and no boosts. Just you, your patience and a lot of clicking. Today we talk about what Winds of Valen actually is, why the MMO community is suddenly talking about it, and who should give this indie MMO a try. I cover forgotten and underrated MMOs, subscribe if that's your thing. So what is Winds of Valen? Winds of Valen is a free-to-play sandbox mmorpg that leans heavily into the nostalgic old-school RuneScape vibes. Low poly graphics, point-and-click movement, and a very grindy, effort-based progression system. It is closer to a public prototype than a full-blown live service game, which is exactly part of the charm. When you start the game, there is no main story dragging you around. You just spawn in a small town, walk out of the gate, and the game basically says, pick an activity and go grind it. This game is very similar to Realm of Simplicity, which I covered in one of my recent reviews. Both games are pretty simplified, old school RuneScape variations. The graphics of the game are pretty basic, but the dynamic day-night cycle and insanely well-made lighting make it look very adorable. The core game loop is extremely simple. Kill mobs, level combat, mine ore, smelt bars, craft and upgrade your gear. Repeat until satisfied. Most players report there is maybe around 10 hours of genuinely fresh content here, if you just play normally, which is why it feels like an MMO you can almost entirely check out on a single weekend. If you stop once you've explored the map, killed the obvious bosses and tried a couple of skills, you will hit a natural endpoint pretty quickly in this state of the game. But if you decide that you want to max every skill and farm every rare drop, it instantly transforms from weekend MMO into a very grindy journey. So it both caters to hardcore and casual players. The progression is as old school as it gets. Every level comes from doing the exact activity you want to level. You've got your classic skills like combat stats and crafting like mining and smithing. The combat stats determine which gear you can wear, and the higher your crafting stats, the better the gear you can craft. It is pretty straightforward. The skills go up by actually using them, RuneScape style. Combat itself is very simple. You trade hits with mobs, your stats decide who wins and who loses, with a little RNG sprinkled in. The economy in the game is gold based, so you can trade everything you find with the vendors in town, or with other players, just as you like. The biggest issues I have encountered so far was that with a high amount of concurrent players, it is really hard to conveniently play the content. It is very hard to mine copper if 5 others want to do the same thing on the same spot. But on the other side, I guess that is also part of the fun when starting out in an MMO. So let's rather not complain about that. So the question is, why do people care about this game? One of the biggest reasons people are talking about Winds of Valen is the monetization. There basically isn't any. There is no cash shop shoved in your face, no starter packs, no cosmetics, and no sneaky pay to win. Progression is tied to time only, not your wallet. Even if the game itself is tiny and rough around the edges, this is a major step into the right direction. So who is this game for? Winds of Valen is for people who miss that early RuneScape feeling. If you want deep builds, complex group content, or a rich in-game economy, I think you're going to bounce off this within a day. But if you're looking for a low commitment, zero cash shop MMO that you can just explore and enjoy over a weekend, then Winds of Valen is the real deal.